Picked up. Can I call you? Yeah. Okay, thanks. Bye. I'd love to say that, but no, unfortunately. I've been working on this all morning, waiting for most of the detectives to wake up and call me back. Like I said, we did make an arrest, but it was about 3 a.m. So I'm guessing most of them are just barely getting up and getting that. So yeah, you figure, yeah, probably about now they're getting ready to come in. He's not going to be able to get in. Could someone let him in so I don't pull all these mics? I'm sorry. There we go. Thank you so much. Yeah, it'll have to be just questions about this. It can't be any questions related to that one because I won't have anything. Yeah, that's what I heard you saying. So yeah, only questions about this. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. But yeah, I guess I should be specific. I can only talk about this incident. But yeah, I heard you talking about it, so I figured I'll clear that up. Hopefully this is everyone and we're not going to miss somebody. But once we get him set up, we'll get going. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I don't have a jacket, and this is just a little bit easier right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Was he good? Okay. Where do we prefer I look? Okay. You're it. Okay. All right. So Sergeant Amy Race, AYMEERACE, PIO for Unified Police Department. So I'm just going to read from our statement that you guys will each be receiving a copy of after this for a press release. But on May 17th at approximately 12:11 p.m., Unified Police Department dispatch did receive a call about a family member who was holding an individual later identified as the suspect at gunpoint. Police responded, and this was near the address of 2300 East, 2900 South in Millcreek. The suspect, Dominic Christopher Garcia, a 23-year-old male from Salt Lake, was taken into custody at about 12:25 from Unified Police Department. According to the early stages of our investigations with our violent crimes detectives, as well as our domestic violence detectives, the suspect began a romantic relationship with one of the adult victims in November of 2024, eventually embedding himself within the victim's family. About early of January 2025, he had moved into the family's Millcreek residence where 2 parents, 5 children, including 1 juvenile, resided. Over time, Garcia created an atmosphere of fear and control, falsely claiming affiliations with dangerous cartels. He told the family they could not leave the house without permission or risk of retaliation from cartel members. He claimed his people were watching and any defiance could result in their deaths. Garcia further had accusations of defrauding the family by soliciting money under false pretenses involving fake business ventures, being armed at all times, keeping weapons on his persons or within reach at all times. He forced one of the victims to purchase the firearms during a month-long road trip that he actually took the entire family on throughout the state of Utah. He confiscated and inspected victims' phones within the family, threatening and pointing weapons at them when he discovered any outside communication. He was physically abusing the victims, including holding the victim's head underwater in an ice bowl as punishment and making another stand nightly watch until about 5 a.m. to monitor the residents. He also imposed a rigorous boot camp on one of the family members, requiring multiple daily workouts, sometimes lasting up to 2 hours per session. He repeatedly claimed that the relatives were involved in the cartel, reinforcing his threats and manipulation. He also abused the family pets inside the home. The suspect has currently been booked into the Salt Lake County Jail and is facing multiple charges, including aggravated kidnapping, aggravated assault, animal abuse, stalking, and threats of violence. We at the Unified Police Department encourage anyone who feels unsafe or threatened to seek help without hesitation. In emergencies, call 911, or for non-emergencies, our non-emergency number is 801-840-4000. We want to remain deeply mindful of the victims at the heart of this case. Our thoughts are with the families as they begin the path to healing. We are relieved that they are now safe and able to access the support services they need during this difficult time. We also extend our appreciation to the officers who responded with professionalism and care, and the detectives whose ongoing efforts reflect our mission to serve, protect, and stand firmly with the victims of violence and coercion. So each of you guys will be receiving a copy of that. I can take a few questions.
Can you talk any more about this family? I mean, how could this go on for 6 months? If the family is 7, you said only 1 juvenile involved in that. In today's age of social media, nobody put out a warning message. No one saw they were missing. How could this go on for 6 months?
Yeah, those are questions we're still going to be investigating. A lot of interviews still have to be done with some of these family members. There have been initial interviews, but one of the things that we always keep in mind is when these victims are ready to be interviewed, we interview them. Of course, the public, we all want to know these answers, but our first priority is making sure these victims feel comfortable and ready to talk. So oftentimes with these type of cases, we wait a few days until these victims can kind of be away from the circumstances before we do those interviews. So it will take some time till we get more in depth of, kind of why the family possibly wasn't reaching out, or, if they were, to who, and maybe why those people didn't report it.
Sergeant Reyes, can you talk more about how they were finally able to get a hold of police and how that came to be?
Yeah, I don't have the specifics at this time. Initial understanding is that the suspect had left the residence, and I don't, again, know how they were able to get a phone or how that process worked, but they were able to have a phone call out and call 911 to get us there.
So how they got his firearm and held him at gunpoint till you arrived?
I can't speak on how the firearms and who they belong to at this point, but yes, they were able to have that suspect, at gunpoint when we arrived.
Have your detectives told you anything about the suspect? I mean, is he a big guy? Is he intimidating? How did he have such control over this family?
I think for everyone, coercion is different. I can't speak on this family in particular. I think that will come through in the interview process, but coercion can work for different people in different capacities at all times.
The boot camp, did that just involve the minor, or did that appear to involve multiple victims?
Yeah, we're not going to speak on which victims those were, but it did involve one of the family members.
And then did you have neighbors at all report suspicious behavior or anything along those lines?
Not that I'm aware of at this time. I'm sure that will come through in the process of the investigation.
Was the suspect also restricting their ability to, say, go to school or work or those kinds of daily activities?
No, I can't speak on that with, as far as in regards to the juvenile, but I know there was a very limited time that this individual allowed these people out of the home. It's my understanding at most times it was 2 hours outside of the home.
I just wonder how they were able to maintain employment and maintain their home under those conditions.
Yeah, and I can't speak to the conditions of the residence or what that was. I wasn't on scene, but again, I'm sure as more comes out, we will be able to release that. This is what we have at this
Do you know
time.
any more about this month-long road trip?
They went several locations in the state of Utah, but as far as, exact locations, I don't have that at this time.
National parks or something, or
Just-
did they?
Yeah, more southern Utah, but I can't speak on if it was national parks or hotels or, but it was more southern Utah. And again, the suspect had relayed that it was to avoid the cartel.
Can you speak to what type of evidence has been collected from the home?
I cannot.
And you guys do not believe he is a cartel member or has those?
Yeah, at this time I checked with the detectives prior to coming out here, and yeah, we don't have evidence to support that this individual was a member of the cartel at this time.
I think the PC said something like he came home bloody one time. Do you know what that was about?
I do not have information on that. I apologize.
They specify which cartel or?
Even if, at this point, we usually don't like to put that type of information out just with gangs and all of that. We usually, if it is related, we usually try to keep that away just to avoid notoriety of those gangs or cartels.
So is the family still living in the same place at this point, or what happened to them?
I can't speak on behalf of that, just more for their respective privacy at this time of where they are. We're not going to comment on that
You
further.
can't say if it was family members or being protected or something like that.
No, not at this time. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Would there be anything that would keep the family from wanting to go to authorities? Is there anything like that?
Again, going back to coercion, I think it's different for every individual. I can't speak for one person Monday night quarterbacking it. It could be different, but for those going through it, coercion can be very different in different forms for people.
Can you break down the age range of that 7 people, the male and female?
Not at this time. We're not going to break that down, but we could probably release that later. But at this time, we're just more really focusing on protecting their privacy through this. So we're not going to be releasing that.
Sergeant Race, you said 2 parents and 5 children, one of which was juvenile.
Correct. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. I'll get this and then I'll unmic. There's a copy of that if you'd like.
Perfect. And about the homicide